Well, joining me to talk more about this is Salahuddin Hashim, a security expert. Thank you very much for joining me on the news. Now, the victims of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack have spent 57 days in the captivity, and now their captors have threatened to kill the victims if the federal government fails to yield to their demands after 7 days. Now, what action should we expect from the federal government?
All right, thank you very much for having me. I think, first of all, it is very important to establish that the clip you have just shown is heartrending, and of course, it is heartbreaking. And of course, it should resonate with everyone within the political and security decision-making arena to respond without any form of delay. And of course, having said that, there is this moral argument about government should not negotiate with terrorists, and that paying ransom, for instance, help terrorist group to maintain control over territory, pay their members, and of course, sometimes fuel terrorism and hostage taking. And of course, this argument was further amplified with the Al-Qaeda and the Islamic Maghreb that was responsible for the numerous kidnapping in Algeria. I think coming back home, it is very important for us to establish a number of strategies. One is the fact that we don't even have a profile. We don't even have a homegrown policy approach or strategy towards negotiating or when situations like this happens. One, we don't have a contingency approach. Two, we don't have an action plan that allows us to respond. Three is the fact that there is an industrial scale situation in these current circumstances. And of course, we can find this playing out very clearly during the ISIS arena when they captured over 20 hostages in Khartoum. And the kind of responses and approach that came into it. Every other country paid, but of course, except for US and the UK. And what was the argument? The argument was that the country does not negotiate with terrorists. And the cliche of not negotiating with terrorists was something that just happened by chance. It was not a policy, it was not an approach, it was just an happenstance of the then President Nixon, who was asked in 1973 when the members of the Palestinian militant organization took a group of hostage in Somalia and in Saudi Arabia, and they asked him, what is the US going to do about it? And he said, well, we do not have to negotiate with them. Our government does not have a strategic thinking approach in terms of how to deal with situations like this. I think despite the fact that countries in developed climes have not deliberately or come out to say that they are negotiating with terrorists, they have also used back end, they have used back channels, they have used third parties, they have used systematic thinking to be able to deal with this. And of course, what these guys are asking is also similar to what happened in 2014. When ISIS took 20 Western hostages and they requested for military equipment to be deposited in Palestine, they requested for prisoner swap. These things happen. And of course, considering the categorization of the request, knowing fully well that those they are asking for are not entirely a threat, I think government should yield and respond to this. We must not play to the gallery and allow these guys to be taken out just like that. The second thing is that the issue of actually...
if you can hear me, sorry to cut you here, but talking about not paying or not negotiating with the terrorists, we are well aware that the federal government has insisted that it would not pay any ransom to the terrorists. Now, do you see the federal government caving in as a result of this new threat?
It has never worked anywhere in the world to have such policy. Do you know what would happen? What to follow suit? What will follow suit will be the fact that people no longer have state support when their relatives are being taken. The second thing is that reporting will definitely be reduced, which means that literally a number of things will happen underground. And of course, people will not come out publicly because obviously there is an outlaw around those who pay ransom or who yield to terrorist demand. I think there should be a hybrid kind of approach. We should be able to contextualize this. One of the challenges that we have had over time as a nation is that we borrow policies, we copy them, come locally and paste it without adapting it to our local environment and our local situation. To be able to see what works and what what doesn't? But of course, we just face them in entirety and, of course, put the lives of several people in jeopardy.
Well,
What would we gain?
now,
For instance, these guys have just requested that, look, we want children from ages 1 to about 7 or 11 in a particular camp, prison, to be released. These are less threats. So first of all, we need to first of all develop a profile approach to terrorism. And one of the challenges that I have is that the last profiler in the Nigerian police actually retired some years ago. So we don't have profilers. We don't have people who are able to situate situations like this and come up with strategic plan on how to respond to it.
All right now, Salahuddin Hashim, security expert, thank you for joining us on the news, for your time and contribution.